We continue now at the top of Daf Nun Gimel Amud Beis Meseches Shabbos. This is Shabbos Daf 53b. The Gemara quoted earlier machlokas between Rav and Shmuel whether you're allowed to put a traskel in front of an animal, a basket, which seems to be just for pleasure. So you put it on top of the animal's neck that it could eat food. And can you do that on Shabbos within a chutzner? And Rav said it was okay. Shmuel said it was a problem. The question was from a brisa, which seemed to indicate that it was okay. And the answer the Gemara just gave was that we're talking about small animals where it actually is painful for them to bend down and eat off the ground, and therefore, of course, it would be okay, even Shmuel would admit. And the Gemara here brings a proof, because in the brisa we have that case of traskel, dumya de kamiyah. It's right next to it, similar to the case of kamiyah, where the animal goes out wearing an amulet, which is also for sickness, which is pain. Shma mina, you see that all these cases in the list are not things that are tainug bi'alma, they're not things that are merely pleasurable, but they're things to avoid or avert pain for the animal, and of course there Rav and Shmuel would all agree. Gemara now continues at the two dots. Amar Mar, the master said, this is a quote from the brisa that I just mentioned, v'lo b'kamiyah, that the animal is not allowed to go out with a kamiyah, with an amulet, af al pi shu mumcha, even though it's been a tested amulet, even though we know, or at least we've seen, that it works 3 times. So it seems to be that this is a problem. But the problem is, v'anan tanan, but we learned in the Mishnah, v'lo b'kamiyah she'eno mumcha. It says in the Mishnah, this is a Mishnah later on, that an animal cannot go out with a kamiyah that is not a mumcha. Sorry, that's not by an animal. That Mishnah is by a person. So it says by a person cannot go out with an amulet that is not a mumcha. Ha-mumcha shaper dami. Sounds like by a person, a mumcha would be okay. So the Gemara says, hachanami she'eno mumcha. So the Gemara says, you're right. Over here, when we say an animal can't go out, it's really not a mumcha. The Gemara says, v'af apishu mumcha katani. What are you talking about? The brisa said that the animal cannot go out even though it was tested. So the Gemara answers, mumcha la'adam ve'eno mumcha lebehema. The case here is that it was tested and it worked on people, but it didn't work on animals. And since it didn't work on animals, and we're talking about an animal over here, that's why the animal cannot go out with this kamiyah. So the Gemara says, umi ika mumcha la'adam ve'lo have mumcha lebehema. Is there such a thing as an amulet that works for a person and doesn't work for an animal? The Gemara says, yes, adam de islay mazla misayele. An Adam has mazel, he has a malach that's a defense for him, Rashi says. So then there the amulet might work. Behema de les la mazla, but an animal doesn't have mazel, lo misayel, it doesn't help. So in any case, the Gemara says, but if that's the case, if so, ma'izeh chomer bebehema mi ba'adam. The brisa finished off that this is something that's stricter by animals than by people. Now, if you would have said that an animal can't go even with a mumcha, that's stricter. But if the animal, it's also not a mumcha, it's just mumcha la'adam, but not mumcha lebehema, so it's not mumcha. So that's the same halacha as by a person. So the Gemara says, "Mi saver akamiyah koya sandal ka." You're right. That line of zechomer bebehema mi ba'adam, and we mentioned this on the previous Amud. Even though we thought before it's going on kamiyah, it's not going on kamiyah. You thought it's going on kamiyah. It's going on the case of the sandal. The halacha is by an animal. You can't put this shoe, this metal hoof, essentially, this metal horseshoe or whatever kind of animal you're talking about. This metal shoe on the animal, that's not allowed. But when it comes, of course, to people, they're allowed to wear a sandal. It's not a problem at all. Gemara now says, Tashma, let's bring another proof. Sachin, again, this is an issue, trying to bring a proof to the issue of whether you're allowed to put on items for tsar purposes or even for tainug purposes. That's the issue. So the brisa says, Sachin u'mefarchasin la'adam vein sachin u'mefarchasin lebehema. Let's say you have wounds, so you're allowed to put oils and you're allowed to, again, scrape off on behalf of a person, but you can't do these things for an animal. So my lav the ikamaka, aren't we talking about where there's some kind of a wound, umisham tsar, and we're talking about pain, and that would be a kash on both Rav and Shmuel. Apparently, you're not allowed to do things for an animal even when it's in pain. So the Gemara says, lo, no, that's not the case. The Gamar maka, really the wound has been totally healed. Umisham tainug, this is really more an issue of tainug, of pleasure. Rashi here explains. Lo de gomer maka shenisrapa hamak. It's already been healed. Vesicho pirchos mishum tainug. It's just from tainug. Ularav vaday kasha. According to Rav, this is a kasha. Vahimas nisa kamaisa dukav nami kasha. And the truth is, the brisa earlier about ukaf is also a problem. Denihi nami de letzina leko tsar tanug miyahu. Okay, granted that there's no tsar, but it's a tainug, and Rav apparently allowed tainug. So why was the ukaf not allowed according to Rav? Elarav tanahu polig. You're going to have to say for all of these brises which imply that tainug is a problem, Rav is a Tana himself, and he can argue with the brisa, so he can be lenient even though the brisa is strict. Gemara now continues with another proof. Tashma, coming here, behema she'achza dam. You have a behema which apparently there was some kind of a blood clot. Ein ma'amidin osab b'mayim b'shvil shetitztanin. You can't put it in water in order to cool it off. Adam she'achzu dam. But if that happens to a person, ma'amidin osab b'mayim b'shvil shetitztanin, you're allowed to put him in water in order that he should cool off. So Rashi again says, Ein ma'amidin alma afilu tsar nami aser. Again, it seems that even tsar is a problem. This animal clearly is in pain. It's achzu dam, and we're saying it's problematic. So the Gemara says, Amar Ula answers, Gezeira mishum shchika samimonin. In this case, it's not simply that we're not allowing it because of a tircha or whatever it is that would prohibit it. There's actually a gezeira, there's a decree that this is refuah, and you might end up grinding up samimonim to create new medicines, and that's an isra d'oraisa of tochen. So there we have to be more strict when it comes to refuah. So the Gemara says, Yachi, if so, Adam Nami. By a person also we should have a Gezerah on Refuah because of Shchika Saman. I mean, there is a Gezerah on Refuah, so why is this okay? So the Gemara says, Adam Nira Kamekar. By a person, it could be that he's just doing this, he's standing in the water to cool off. It's possible, it's not clear that you're doing it for Refuah. But by a behema, the Gemara says, Yachi, if so, behema nami nira kamaker. Why can't we say the same logic by a behema? So the Gemara says, Ein maker le behema. Behemas don't do that. You don't cool off animals by putting them into just water for no reason. Everyone knows that you're doing it for refuah, and therefore you have a problem. A gezerah mishum shchika samimon. So the Gemara says, a general question, for the behema mi gazrinan, this gezerah of shchika samimon, does it really apply to a behema? Now Rashi adds in over here, in a situation where we're talking about a loss of money, the animal here was sick. In such a situation, we're going to make a gezerah of shchika samimonim. V'atani, we learned in a brayso, haisa omedes chutz l'tchum. If an animal is standing outside of the tchum, korei lo v'hiba, you're allowed to call the animal and have it come. You don't want to lose your animal. V'lo gazrin and dil masi lesuya. Apparently, there's no gezerah that you're going to go out of your tchum to get the animal. So it seems like we don't make gezerahs with regards to animals. So the Gemara gives two answers. First answer is Amar Ravina. Ravina says, "Kigon shaya tchum shalo muvla besoch tchum shalo." The tchum of the animal is absorbed into his own tchum. Rashi here explains, Shaya tchum shalom uvlas besoch tchum shalom the chutz l'tchum katani chutz l'tchum shalo shabehema mesura l'ra hamiyuchad harei karagli haroa. The behema, wherever the shepherd's tchum is, that's where the animal's tchum is. Now the owner is actually allowed to go to that area. This area where the animal is still within his tchum. The issue was really just, it's the animal's tchum. Even though the owner is really allowed to walk there, he shouldn't bring it directly with his hands, because the animal is going to be leaving its own tchum. Only gets dalat amos. So he is allowed to call the animal and have it come to him. There's no azhara, there's no warning that he's not allowed that he has to make sure that the animal doesn't go outside its own tchum, as long as he doesn't do it directly. So that's the first answer of Ravina's answer, that there is no real gezerah over here, because it's not really outside of your own or the owner's own tchum. It's only outside the animal's tchum. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says, Shchika samimonim gufa tanohi. When it comes to the issue of Shchika samimonim, of whether we're making a gezerah for refuah things when it comes to animals that you're going to come to do tochen, that itself is a machlokas tanoim. So we can simply answer that even though you have this kasha from a brisa, that's the other tana. How do we know that? The Tanya we learned in a brisa, behema she'achla karshinin. Let's say an animal ate karshinin. Karshinin used to constipate an animal, so you needed to have some way to get it to go to the bathroom. So lo yiritzena b'chotzer b'shvil shetisrap. The first opinion, the first Tana says you're not allowed to have it run around the chotzer for refuah purposes. But Rabbi Yoshia matir. Rabbi Yoshia says it's mutter, and you see clearly there is a machlokis when it comes to animals whether we prohibit things due to gezeras that you're going to come to do a doraisa. Dorash Rava darshan halachic Rabbi Yoshia. The halach is in fact like Rav Oshia. Gemara now continues at the two dots. Amar Mar, the master said, Lo yetze hazav bekis shalo v'lo izim bekis shebidadehen. This was part of the brisa. The zav can't go out with his kiss, which is collecting the ziva. The goats cannot go out with their kiss, which is collecting the milk from the udders. V'hatanya, but didn't we learn in a brisa, yotzos izim bekis shebidadehen, that the goats are allowed to go out with a kiss? Amar Rav Yehuda says, Lo kash, it's not difficult. Had mahadik, had lo mahadik. It depends if it's on tight or not. If it's on tight, it's not going to fall off. You won't come to carry it in Rosh Hashanah. It's therefore not a problem, but if it's not on tight, then you have a problem. Rav Yosef says, Tanai shakalt me'alma, have you taken Tanaim out of this world? Tanai, this is a machlokas Tanaim. What are you making up an answer for? There's actually Tanaim that argue about this. The Tanan, because we learned in our Mishnah, ha'izim yotzos tzururos Rabbi Yossi oser v'chulin It says the goats are allowed to go out tzururos, and Rabbi Yossi says it's usher. He only permitted one case in the Mishnah, which we'll explain a little bit later. Rabbi Yehuda said, Izim yotzos tzururos liyavish avalo lecholev. The goats can go out if they're tied up, their udders are tied up to keep them dry, it's okay, because it's tight. But if it's to milk, it's to collect the milk. When it's done in a loose fashion, it's a problem. So the Gemara says, once we have the Mishnah, we can also answer, Havahar Rabbi Yehuda. Both brises are the same Tana of Rabbi Yehuda. Havahar Rabbi Yehuda, both are Rabbi Yehuda. V'lo kash, it's not difficult. Kan liyavish, kan lecholev. Again, in one case you're doing it tight, you're doing it to keep the animal dry. In the other case, you're doing it to collect the milk. Tanya, we learned in a brisa, Amar Rabbi Yehuda says, Ma'isa be'izim beis Antochia shahayu dadehen gasin. There was a story with the goats of the beis Antochia. They had large udders. They would drag on the ground. Va'asu lahen kisin, so they made kisin for them. Kadeshalo yisr tu dadein, in order that they shouldn't scratch up the udders. So that would actually be okay. Gemara now continues at the two dots with a story. Taner Rabbanan, we learned in a brisa, Ma'isa be'echot shemesa ishta. There was a story with a person whose wife died, v'inicha ben liyanik, and she left over a son that needed to be nursed. V'lohoya lo schar menika. He didn't have enough money to give litain, to give to a woman who could nurse the boy. V'nasa lo nes, or to nurse the son. So a nes happened, the miracle happened. V'niftachu lo dadin kishnei dada isha, and he ended up that he got two breasts like those of a woman. V'heinik espino, and the father was able to nurse his own son. So the Amoraim have a disagreement of what to take from this story. Amar Rav Yosef says, Bo re'eh kama gadol adam zeh. Look how great this person is. Shenasa lo nes kazeh, that a miracle like this would happen to him. Amar le Abaye, so Abaye said, Adrab, on the contrary, kama garua adam zeh, how lowly is this person? Sheneshtanu lo sidrei bereshis, that the whole seder of Ma'aseh bereshis of nature gets changed for him. Amar Rav Yehuda says, Bo re'eh kama kashim izonos of shaladam. Come and see how difficult it is for a person to get food. Sheneshtanu olav sidrei bereshis, that the whole seder of nature had to be changed. Amar Rav Nachman says, Teda, you should know the misrachash nisa, because we've seen miracles happen v'lo ivrum izoni, but we don't see food getting created. So you see that this is a kind of a miracle that's outside the normal standards of miracles. The Gemara now continues at the two dots. Taner Rabbanan, we learned in a brisa, Ma'isa b'adam echad shenasa isha gidemes. There was once a person, he married a woman whose hand was cut off. V'lo hikir ba'ad yom mosa. He did not know about this fact until the day she died. Amar Rav says, Bo rei kamet snui isha. Come see how much sneas this woman had. Shalo hikir ba'bala. The husband didn't even recognize. Amar lo Rabbi Chia said to him, Zu darka b'kach. No, that's normal. Rashi explains over here. Zu darka b'kach l'chasos kalisha atzma. All women will cover themselves up in this manner. Certainly a woman like this who doesn't have a hand, she needs to cover it up. So that's not a big deal. Rather, elakama tzanua adam zel. Look how tzanua the husband was. Shelo hikir b'ishto, that he did not recognize this in his own wife. The Gemara now quotes the Mishnah, Zecharim yotzin levuvin. It says that males, the rams, are allowed to go out levuvin. What does that mean? My levuvin, what is levuvin? Amar Rav Huna, we're going to have a few answers to this. Amar Rav Huna says tusrei. It means they're essentially tied together in pairs, in couples. This keeps them together, that they shouldn't run away. My mashma dahai levuvin lishna dekaruvehu. Where do we see that the language of levuvin means a language of keeping them close together? Techsiv levavtani achosi kala. Rashi says the reference over here is that I've brought you, God is talking, I've brought you close to me because of the beauty of your deeds. That's levavtani, again, from the same language of levuvin. Ula Amar Ula is another answer, or shekoshin lahem keneged libam. This is a reference to some or, a hide, a leather that they tied by their hearts, kadesh lo yiplu alein ze'evim, and this would prevent the ze'evim from being able to attack them. So the Gemara asks, ze'evim azacharim nafli anakevas lo nafli. 1 second. Remember, this thing has to apply only to the males, only to the rams, not to the sheep. So do the wolves only attack the males and not the females? So the Gemara says, yeah, mishum demasku bereish edra, because the males walk in the front of the flock, so that's where there's an avin attack. The Gemara says, who's an avin bereish edra nafli, besof edra lo nafli. You think that wolves attack the front of a flock and not the back? That's not true either. Ela mishum deshamni, rather it's because they're fatter. The zecharim are fatter. The Gemara still questions, of an akevas like a shamni, you don't have fat sheep that are females. Vesu mi yadi ben hani lahani, and also you think they know the difference between the males and the females? They don't make any distinction. Ela mishum dezakfi chutmayu masku. So finally the Gemara concludes, kidavu. The Gemara concludes that the males, they lift up their noses when they're walking. They walk with their heads held high, and this encourages, because they think maybe they're being attacked, this encourages the wolves to attack them, and that's why they need this protection, which is these levuvin that they wear over their hearts. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak has another answer about what levuvinar. He says, or shekoshen lehen tachas zachrusan. It is a piece of leather, a piece of hide that they tie by their private area, by the male area, kadesh lo yalu al nekevos, in order that they shouldn't come upon the nekevos to have relations with the nekevos in order to have babies. So the Gemara says, Mimai, how do I know that that's the case? Or Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, what's the proof? Miniktani Sefer, look at the end of the same Mishnah. It says, Varachelim yotzos shechuzos. It says the sheep can go out shechuzos. My shechuzos, what does shechuzos mean? Sha'ochzin ha'aliyah shalahen lamala. What they would do is they would tie the tail upward, kadesh yalu alein zacharim, in order that the zacharim should come upon them. So that would make sense. Reisha kadesh lo yalu nekevos. The Reisha is talking about something which makes it that they shouldn't go on the nekevos. Besefer kadesh yalu alein zacharim, and then Sefer is talking about the other opposite case where you want them to mate. The Gemara says, "My mashma dahai shechuzos lishnan de galuyehu." Now, how do we know that the language of shechuzos used by the females is a language of revealing, tying up the tail? Tichsiv, because it says v'nei isha lekroso. It says in the pasuk there was a woman before him, and we'll continue with this proof from the pasuk in the next video on Daf Nun Dalid Amud Aleph.